And now, when you think about cornbread, you think black folks, whether that's good, bad, or indifferent. Am I making that up? Cornbread at one point was a staple part of the black American diet. Cornbread alone probably saved many lives. Now, how many people of different ethnic backgrounds can legitimately say that? How? Because corn itself was a staple part of the agriculture of the whole of the America. When you think tacos, nobody has a problem attributing that to Mexicans and to Mexico. When you think egg roll, you don't have no problem attributing that to the Asians. And the way the Europeans make bread, we can make a whole nother video of that on its own. But when it comes to cornbread and black folk, it's made out to be some type of joke, something that they picked up through slavery or some other means of being forced into doing something. And it just don't add up. No, that's our heritage. You have no problem attributing taco to Mexican heritage. We have no problem attributing egg roll to the Asians, biscuits and crepes and shit. So let me ask you, who taught them how to make cornbread? Why is nobody else claiming cornbread? And why is it such a big joke, is you gonna eat your cornbread? That's because it's part of our heritage. So what, you think that they just snatched people up one day, turned them into slaves the next day, and then they was making cornbread? Or where did that come from? How did that come about? Because you think they just threw them some scraps off the table and they just came up with cornbread and it still made it to today? Well, wouldn't that still say something great about those people? Not something ha-ha funny? No, it's our heritage. So once you research enough of this stuff, you'll come to realize that has become, that's an indicator. That lets you know, that's the wink and the nod. When they make jokes out of certain little things that all of us kind of do, for real, they making fun of our heritage. So put that into perspective. Let me give you a few examples. It's like the one I already told you about, the one about the gold teeth and the jewelry, how we, most indigenous Americans like to be, flossy, wearing the gold and blinging, and we made fun of because of that, and that's kind of unique to us, and nobody understands why, but you will refuse to say that it's our heritage. Our ancestors were that way for a reason, and that's why we do it today. And for example, like this one about cornbread. Now, it's a well-documented fact that corn itself grew all throughout the whole of the America, all the way back to since the beginning of time. So that means there's a great possibility that whoever thought to make bread from corn probably came from the same place this corn came from. Well, because you might think that Africans were enslaved and came over to America and either brought the knowledge of how to make cornbread with them, or they learned how to make cornbread. They just figured it out on the fly. Those are all just impossible. That's so much harder to believe than it is to believe that black people was already here and they have been making cornbread since the beginning of time. And that's the reason they the best at making it today. Somebody tap in for me on this. Do the African people even make cornbread? I won't pretend to know. I don't know. So I don't even know if African people even make cornbread. And surely if we would have learned it from the Spaniards, we'd be making tacos. If we would have learned it from the Germans, we'd be making brochen or some stuff, so it had to have come from somewhere. So you see, you can't come from another continent and just know how to just make bread out of vegetables. You can't. It sounds simple enough, but don't knock it till you tried it. And not just cornbread. So I don't want to make it sound, because first of all, just corn, a lot of different products come from corn, and a lot of it is attributed directly to the indigenous Americans. So they knew how to make a wide variety of products off this one vegetable. We still use it, a lot of this stuff today. Cornstarch, corn syrup, vegetable oil, and everything else. So you can't just come to no whole nother continent and know all the agriculture and horticulture there and just instantly just make all sorts of new products. That's not realistic. That knowledge had to have already been there. And that's not even just, again, not just even corn or bread, even things such as like tobacco, well documented all throughout America. Now, a little known fact about tobacco: shaman, medicine men, indigenous Americans knew how to use this plant as a medicine. They also smoked it, and they also knew how to use it in certain rituals. But does anybody know of anybody who knows how to use tobacco to heal today? Nobody knows anybody. So we lost that knowledge. It's just lost. Well, you would lie, because when I was a kid, it was well known. Because when I was a kid, it was a well known fact that if you got stung by a bee, baby, put a little tobacco spit on it. It'll make the stinger come right on out of you. So when I was a kid, it was widely known that you could use tobacco spit to help heal from a bee sting. But we don't know the indigenous Americans they talking about who knew how to use tobacco to heal. See, they pulling the move. It's called sleight of hand. It's like one of those moves where they pretend to pull your nose off your face and it look like they got it in their hand, but you don't know your nose ain't gone until you got touch your face. Yeah, it's that kind of trick. And again, it's not just about the corn or the bread. It's like this across the board. Fried chicken and watermelon, some type of running joke. And why? Because these are things that indigenous Americans most likely came up with. When they say black people got big lips and noses, no, our ancestors passed that down to us. They make fun of us for that. So what about everything else? So what needs to be taken away from this is the realization that we haven't lost anything. We haven't actually lost anything. We've known our heritage the whole time and been in touch with ourselves and our ancestors, and we gotta be in touch with the Most High. That's the only way to see this through. And with that, we have to realize how we got in this predicament in the first place. And then we will know what to do. Back to the wheat and tares. And so, back to the wheat and tares. I'll make a song out of it. Back to the wheat and tares. Back to the wheat and tares. Back to the wheat, back to the wheat. So, back to the wheat and tares. So, back to the wheat and tares. How's this for a clue that's right under our nose? What's with all the rhetoric about who we are, where we from, the whole thing about slavery, how they classify us, and called us everything under the sun other than the children of the Most High, which is who we really are. And now why is it that they done changed our name and reclassified us under everything except children of the Most High? They refuse to see if the puzzle piece fit that way, but we definitely gonna come back to that. But to keep this thing moving, I think it's essential to point out the fact that a lot of the things the Native Americans, indigenous Americans are known for or have been known for is things that Black Americans are still known for to this day. Now that's pretty strange. And once you do enough research, you'll start to notice the pattern. And I think this is the perfect spot for my disclaimer. I don't claim to be a researcher. I research for fun. I don't claim to be any sort of historian. I'm no expert at anything, and I do not get paid for this. I make these videos for fun, for entertainment purposes only. So I'm not preaching or teaching to anyone. Make of it what you will. But I do like to point out things that I find funny or notable or remarkable for whatever reason. And now, one of the things that I found remarkable is that a lot of these things that the Native Americans are known for, Black Americans are known for, are talked about in the Bible. So in my opinion, that gives us reference point. One of the things that's most peculiar about these particular items is that they're not so much known to grow in the desert or the Sahara in Africa as much as they are known to have origins in the Americas. Make of that what you will, but I just find that quite remarkable. Well, because anything sounds good in a story when you're telling a good story, but when you think about it from a business standpoint, the logistics just don't add up. And you guys gotta excuse me, I'm really only using this map because it kind of segues into the next part, really the last part, and I appreciate y'all for hanging out this long. If you want to see more content from me, you gotta hit that like button, drop something in the comments. We're gonna keep this thing moving. Now, think about it from a business standpoint. Let's do a little thought experiment. We don't have to go really deep into it. I'ma just get you started. You'll be able to finish it on your own. Think about you being the captain of a ship. You leaving, again, I'm only using this map, and in just a minute you'll see. So let's say you the captain of the ship, and you sailing from England over in this area somewhere, or wherever you may be sailing from, en route to Africa. So you get over in this region or down in here somewhere to get slaves to go colonize America. And you the captain of this ship. Okay, do you take seed and plants with you, or do you just go and use the plant that are there? Put your answers in the comments. Now let's give it just a little bit of effort. Okay, do you take your own seed? That would mean you'd have to take enough and the right ones. Do you know which ones will grow? Do you not know? You just guessing, process of elimination, trial and error, however that might end up? Or again, do you go off of what's there? Okay, so let's assume you go off of what's there. Or we could also assume that you take seeds. No, we can't even assume that. We know that's not what happened. Now remember, you're going to colonize a whole new country. So you planning on this being a one-way trip. So you either gonna have to take everything you need with you or get it when you get there. Now we know the supplies that they brought with them didn't work out for them. And we know that they didn't know what to do when they got here. Well, that's what the whole Thanksgiving holiday is about, ain't it? Supposedly so many of them had died because they was in a new land and they had no bearing. They didn't know what to do. They couldn't even feed themselves. They were starving to death and everything else. Now to you, it might make more sense that they turned around and enslaved the black folks and beat them and turned out making cornbread. But to me, they had already slipped up and told you that the indigenous Americans brought them the cornbread in the first place to save their life. Now that's awfully remarkable. And how did I reach that conclusion? Because if they got over here and was starving to death until they had to thanksgiving from the Indians, well, because if they to the Indians had to thanks for giving them food, then that implies that you could go all the way to another country and starve to death because you don't know anything about the environment. You don't know how to grow your own food. You might know how to hunt somewhat, but you don't know anything about the animal particularly. You might be totally ill prepared, is what that story implies. And why do I say our people was making cornbread since the beginning of time? Because right now to this day on Thanksgiving, if you go over the average black person's house, I bet you they having corn on the cob and cornbread. So that's part of the tradition. So our people make it like that because they people made it like that. That's the tradition. And they people made it like that because they people in themselves, same Indian. Our mother and fathers made it like that because their mothers and fathers made it like that. And even got cornbread stuffing in the turkey. What are we talking about? You don't just come over here on no slave ship and learn how to do that. I can't say that party. So in my opinion, that couldn't have came from slavery. That had to have come through slavery. It came before slavery itself. And these are things that are mostly unique to the West Indian, aka black people. These are things that they still do to this day. Now, of course, you know I know that that's not the real reason for the Thanksgiving holiday. Our people celebrated Thanksgiving before they ever even heard of a European. But we'll get into that at another time. Because see, most black people celebrate Thanksgiving differently. We celebrated giving thanks for being able to give, for being able to offer something to somebody else. I think I can prove that pretty easily. Do this experiment yourself. It's one of my favorite lines, dude. For all y'all that got black friends, just wait till Thanksgiving and just pop up at their house and knock on their door. And when they open the door, say, sorry to just barge in, but do you mind if we just stop by and eat? I'm not even gonna tell you what the answer might be. Just do it. Try it. Try it with one of your black American friends, then try it with one of your Native American friends, and then try it with one of your, let's say, well, Mexicans are pretty cool too. I can't lie. You might be able to pop up on a Mexican. Try it with one of your white American friends. And many of you already know the answer. And with that, you should know that this tradition is been with these people. You will know that these people wasn't hit upside the head and forced into this tradition. You will know that these people have this tradition out of the kindness of their heart. And you'll actually get a sense of what Thanksgiving is about, a true sense of what Thanksgiving is about. So we're gonna put that on the back burner for now and slide over here on the other side of town.